They say the little things are what tip you off. Not the lipstick on the collar or the mysterious hotel charge. No, it's the small cracks, the kind of details only someone who's shared years with a person would notice. For me, it started with a damn text message. It was a Friday evening. I was sitting on the back porch, nursing a beer after a long day of installs. HVAC work isn't glamorous, but it pays well enough, and I'm decent at it. I'd just finished a 12-hour shift crawling through attic ductwork when Marlene, my wife of 6 years, texted. "Dinner with Lexi. Won't be too late, 2 hearts." Normal enough, right? She's had these girls' nights plenty of times before. I usually throw something frozen in the oven and watch whatever's on ESPN until she comes home. We don't fight, we don't yell, we're just steady, or at least, I thought we were. About 9:30 p.m., I got another text from her. "Running late, might crash at Lexi's. Love you." Something in my gut twisted. Not the words, the structure of it. She never types like that, full sentences, punctuation, like she was writing it for someone else's eyes. And the part about crashing at Lexi's? She's done that maybe once in 6 years, and only after a bachelorette party where she was hammered. So I called, straight to voicemail. Okay, maybe her battery died. Maybe she left it in her purse. But the truth is, I already knew. I just didn't want to know. I stayed up until 2 a.m. No call. No text. She walked in around 7 the next morning, still in the same jeans and shirt she left in. Her face looked surprised. Like she hadn't expected me to be sitting at the table, drinking coffee, eyes locked on the front door. She gave me a forced smile. "Morning," she said, voice way too bright. "Lexi and I stayed up talking all night. I just passed out on her couch." I didn't say a word. Just nodded. But something had changed. A door had cracked open in my mind. And I couldn't close it anymore. After she went upstairs to shower, I sat there, staring at my coffee like it could give me answers. This wasn't me. I'm not the suspicious type. I've never checked her phone. Never snooped. I believed if you had to spy, the trust was already gone. But sitting at that table, something inside me hardened. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was instinct. But I needed to know. When she came back down, hair wet, face fresh, she looked like nothing happened. She kissed me on the cheek and started making toast like we were just another couple on another Saturday morning. That afternoon, while she was in the backyard painting, she'd taken up watercolors during lockdown. I found her phone on the kitchen counter. Unlocked. I didn't hesitate. I told myself I wouldn't snoop unless she gave me a reason. Well, the reason was already 12 hours late coming home. I didn't find anything at first. No suspicious messages, no saved photos, no call history from the night before. It was too clean, too perfect. Then I realized she had a second app folder labeled Utilities. Inside it was an app I didn't recognize, disguised as a weather widget. I tapped it. It was a Vault app, password protected, and that's when it hit me. This wasn't a mistake. This was a system. I put her phone back, exactly where she left it. I didn't confront her. Didn't ask questions. I just smiled at her from the kitchen like nothing had changed. That night, I barely slept. My mind was racing with questions, all of them eating me alive. Who was it? Was it someone we both knew? Was it Lexi's man? How long had this been going on? But more than anything, I wondered how many nights I had kissed her, held her, while she was mentally somewhere else. By Monday, I had a plan. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to catch her red-handed and collapse like some Lifetime movie husband. No, I was going to take everything from her. But first, I needed to know who I was really dealing with. I spent most of Monday afternoon installing a hidden camera in the living room. Just a small one, tucked inside the base of a decorative lamp she never touches. It streamed directly to an app on my phone. Audio too. It felt wrong, invasive even. But I kept thinking about how easily she'd lied to my face. How calmly she told me she loved me before walking out the door and disappearing for the night. She crossed the line first. I was just following her across it. Tuesday, nothing. Wednesday, nothing. She acted normal, or what had become her version of it. A little too cheerful, like someone who knows they're getting away with something and thinks they're smarter than you. Then came Thursday night. She said she was heading to Target. Needed paint brushes, snacks, and some alone time. It was almost 8 p.m. when she left. At 8:41 p.m., The camera in our living room pinged me. Motion detected. I tapped into the feed, not knowing what I was expecting. There she was, standing in the middle of the room with her phone in one hand, purse in the other. She was pacing, nervous, and then, headlights lit up the window. She opened the door, said something I couldn't make out, and in walked a man. Not Lexi's boyfriend, not a coworker I recognized. Just some guy, tall, athletic build, buzzed hair, wearing black jeans and a white t-shirt like he was heading to a club. I couldn't breathe. I just sat there watching as my wife, the woman I built a life with, smiled like a teenager with a crush and walked him to the couch. They didn't talk long. She straddled him like she'd done it 100 times. And I just watched. There was no anger in that moment. No heartbreak. No yelling at the screen. Just this cold, brutal realization. She wasn't mine anymore. She was something else now. A version of herself I'd never seen, and maybe never knew. By the time they went upstairs, I turned off the feed. Not because I couldn't take it, but because I'd seen enough. I had a face now. A stranger. And that made it worse somehow. If it had been someone I knew, a coworker, a mutual friend, at least it would have made a kind of twisted sense. But this? Just some guy? She gave herself to a complete stranger. In our house. On our couch. Under the roof I paid for. That's when my plan changed. This wasn't about just catching her. This was about reclaiming everything she thought she could throw away without consequence. I spent the next 2 days operating like a man with a quiet, dangerous mission. I didn't confront her. I didn't slam doors or act distant. Instead, I acted like nothing happened. I smiled when she talked. I made dinner. I even offered to rub her shoulders Friday night after she came home from Lexi's again. She didn't suspect a thing. Meanwhile, I was documenting everything. Screenshots, camera footage, timestamps. I even drove by the Target parking lot Thursday night, just to confirm, no car. She hadn't been anywhere near it. Saturday morning, I visited a lawyer. Her name was Angela Parks. Mid-40s, sharp, no nonsense. I liked her immediately. When I showed her the footage and laid out what I had, she looked me straight in the eye and said, "We can do this clean. If she cheated and we prove it, you walk away with everything that matters." I told her I didn't care about revenge. That was a lie, but a necessary one. What I wanted was leverage, power, a way to take control of the situation so she couldn't flip the narrative on me. We didn't have kids, and thank God for that. The house was in my name, bought it 2 years before we met. She'd contributed nothing to the mortgage, nothing to the upgrades. The car she drove? My name. The credit cards? Mine too. Angela laid out a plan. We'd serve her divorce papers quietly, first thing in the morning. Timed right before her next girls' night out. We'd freeze the joint accounts, cancel her access to anything tied to my name, and offer her the minimum. Nothing more. She cheats, she walks away with nothing but her suitcase. It was cold, calculated, exactly what I needed. But before any of that, I had one final piece to the puzzle. I wanted to meet the man she threw everything away for. Not to fight him, not to threaten. I just wanted to look him in the eye and see what kind of person you destroy a marriage over. So I followed her. Sunday afternoon, she told me she was going out to get coffee and read at the park. I waited 10 minutes, got in my truck, and followed her at a distance. It wasn't hard. She wasn't trying to hide. She drove to a hotel off the highway. Not a classy one either. Just one of those places where rooms are $79 a night and the curtains always seem half closed. I watched her knock on the door. Watched him answer shirtless. Watched her kiss him like she hadn't just laid in my bed 12 hours earlier. And then I drove away. I wasn't even angry, because now I had everything I needed. And tomorrow morning, she'd wake up to a whole new reality. Monday morning came like any other. She was in the kitchen, making her smoothie, phone in hand, humming some pop song like nothing was wrong in the world. I sat at the table, sipping coffee, watching her. Watching the way she moved, talked, smiled. She looked like my wife. But she wasn't, not anymore. At 8:15 a.m., the doorbell rang. She looked at me, puzzled. "You expecting someone?" she asked. "Nope," I said, keeping my tone calm. She opened the door, and was greeted by a woman in a navy blazer, holding a stack of papers. "Mrs. Carter?" the woman asked. "Yeah, you've been served." Her smile dropped. She stared down at the envelope in her hands like it was written in another language. "What is this? Shish?" he asked, turning to me. Voice shaky. I didn't answer. I just stood up, calmly walked over to her, and took a sip from my mug. "It's a divorce petition," I said. "Based on infidelity." She froze, like her brain needed a second to process what I said. "You, what? You're divorcing me?" "Yeah, you gave yourself to a stranger in my house. On my couch. You lied to my face, over and over again." Her face flushed, eyes wide. You spied on me?" "No," I said, setting my mug down. "I found out." "That's different." She opened her mouth like she was about to go on some rant, but I cut her off. "The car goes back to me today. The cards are already cancelled. You'll be staying with whoever that guy is, or Lexi, or your mom, I don't care. But you'll be out of this house by Friday. You can't just." "I can. And I already did. The house is mine. The accounts are frozen. And your name? Nowhere on any of it." She started crying then. Not loud, not theatrical. Just these slow, stunned tears, like she couldn't believe she'd actually lost the game she thought she was winning. "I didn't mean for it to get this far," she whispered. "That's the problem," I said. "You never mean to. You just do it anyway." I walked past her and out the front door. I didn't need to hear the rest. Whatever excuses she had left, they weren't mine to carry anymore. I'd been her husband, her partner, her friend, and she threw all of that away for a man whose name she didn't even mention. But the story wasn't done yet. Because I had one last card to play. I didn't go to work that Monday. I took a drive instead. 3 towns over, to a little dealership off the highway. The one where the guy she was sleeping with worked. His name was Marcus. I found that out through the hotel registry when I had my lawyer subpoena security footage and check-ins. He used a rewards number that traced back to a business account, registered to a car dealership. The guy she risked our marriage for? He was a damn floor salesman. It wasn't about status, or love, or some deep emotional connection. It was impulse, attention, something easy. I sat in my truck for a while, parked across the street, watching him outside smoking with a coworker. Laughing like he didn't just walk into another man's home and lay with his wife. I didn't walk up to him. That part of me, the hit him in the face and break his nose part, that's what he expected. What I did instead was simple. I took photos, not just of him, but of his license plate, his name badge, and the hotel logs. And then I called our. Turns out the dealership had a strict moral clause, which made sense, since they did a lot of financing and branding under a national chain. You sleep with a married woman in her husband's home, you violate a whole lot more than trust. I wasn't trying to ruin his life. But I wanted him to feel it. Not with fists, not with threats. With consequence. The next day, he was let go. My lawyer made sure of it. Quiet, clean, legal. His manager was polite on the phone but made it clear. We can't have that kind of attention tied to our name. Marlene called me that night. I didn't answer. She texted, "Please, can we just talk? I made a mistake. I miss you. I didn't think you'd go this far." That's the part that stuck with me. I didn't think you'd go this far. Like I was the one crossing a line. I stared at the message for a long time, then finally typed back. "You thought I'd be weak. That's your real mistake." Blocked her after that, not out of pettiness, out of peace. But the revenge? It wasn't just legal. It wasn't just financial. It was watching the house get quiet. Watching her name disappear from my accounts, my plans, my future. And knowing I got out with my dignity. The house felt too quiet the first few days. Her shoes weren't by the door. Her art supplies weren't scattered across the dining table. The little messes that used to drive me crazy, gone. But so was the voice I used to hear humming in the kitchen. So was the familiar shape under the blankets at night. It wasn't a clean kind of freedom. It was the kind that stung at first, like pulling glass out of your skin. You know you're healing, but it still hurts like hell. The final hearing took less than 10 minutes. Angela, my lawyer, slid the file across the table. Marlene didn't even look at me. Just signed where she was told. She got her suitcase, her clothes, and a lump of shame she'll carry for a long time. No money, no house, no car. She'd have to rebuild, just like she forced me to. I didn't show up to gloat. I didn't speak a word to her. Not because I had nothing to say, but because I'd already said everything I needed to through my actions. After the court clerk handed me the final decree, I walked out into the parking lot, looked up at the sky, and just exhaled. It was over. No more lies. No more questions about who she was texting. No more pretending I was building a life with someone who'd already left me emotionally months ago. People say revenge doesn't fix anything. But they don't understand what it's like to hand someone your heart, your time, your loyalty, and have them throw it away for a night in a hotel with a stranger. This wasn't about revenge, it was about reclaiming myself. Since then, I've been working more, eating better, even started fixing up the backyard like I always said I would. The silence doesn't scare me anymore. It's not the silence of something missing. It's the sound of peace finally coming back. And if you're going through something like this, if you're sitting on your porch one night, staring at your phone, wondering where they are, just know this. You're not crazy, you're not weak, and when the time comes, you can walk away with your head high. Because no one, not even the person you love, gets to destroy you without your permission. And me? I took my life back.